Welcome to the bold analysis. The endemic corruption in the current administration is one of the viruses that is eating government from within. And while the political players, the ruling class, can come out to explain to you, and they will go before Wanjiku and ask you, since we came to government, have you ever heard of a big scandal? Does it mean there is none? The story about what happened, the body kidney harvesting scheme in Eldoret, and also the 2.5 billion compensation fee that has riddled the Ministry of Lands officials. In this podcast, we are going to open the lid on how government insiders and public servants are now entangled in deep corruption scandals, asking a big question. Why exactly is now corruption becoming a big thing in the current Kenya Kwanza administration? And I know without much ado, someone will ask me, Kevin, what are you asking? Didn't you expect that? Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell and like our videos, and thank you very much for supporting our podcast. In this video, we do this each and every day because of you. Apart from political analysis, we also do charity, and especially responding when the community calls us to. And that is why this week, this month of April, we were helping Virginia in Embu. My person, my programs assistant is there. David is still there. Na wanajenga. So we will be there this weekend to do the second round of fundraise for economic empowerment after the house is built for Virginia. So thank you very much for also supporting that April project. That was the first time we are putting up a permanent house, and it has really taken toll of us. Now, I would want you to take a minute and listen to this story, the narration about how these Kenyans were actually duped into such a deal.
This young man who requested for anonymity says for a year he has lived in pain and regret after he lost one of his kidneys.
Best yangu kaniambia ati iko biashara hivi na hivi na hivi. Mimi na nikakubali, kaniambia tutakupea 1.2. Lakini mwishowe kanipea 1400.
He says the process started with a number of tests at a medical facility in Eldoret, which took about 3 weeks. During this time, he was advised to change his identity and was given an ID and passport to show he was a foreigner who was allegedly donating to a foreigner.
Kuendelea hapo hivi waliniundia mpaka ID ya hiyo ilikuwa ya Somalia, kaniundia passport. So unajua sasa nikiulizwa huko na daktari naoneshana. Wakamuuliza wewe ni Mkenya, naambia hapana. Nilikuwa tunaongea Kiingereza.
After passing all the tests, he was moved to a different hospital where his kidney was removed and only paid a third of the agreed package with the promise that he would receive the rest of the cash.
Walikula hiyo pesa, wakanipea pesa kidogo. Nikifikiria pesa ilienda, ni kama sitapata ingine. Nasikia tu najisumbuanga tu nikifikiria kwanza na niko tu.
Naomba president wetu uingilie kati ya watoto wetu kweli.
Of kidney harvesting. I would want to look at it as a case of a fortune. But I want you to imagine a situation where someone accepts to sell part of his body for an income. And it's true, we must say that this is a very big stab. And this is a very big shame in the eyes of our leaders. The jobs that you shout about, that I have created jobs in affordable, in Tembele and all those jobs. This story shows how exactly we've reached as a country. Someone has promised 1.2 million. Now, to make it worse, they were not even given that money. And today, those fireworks in the National Assembly, when Sifuna and Boni Khalwale took Duale head-on this.
Madam Speaker, I also watched with horror last night on the news these reports of organ harvesting at a very credible, hitherto credible medical facility in Eldoret. And many of us actually have even sought services there. Many of our parents, especially from Western Kenya, they consider this facility a very credible facility. In fact, when the late Lawrence Sifuna passed, that is a facility that was taking care of him. So we were in shock, Madam Speaker. But it points to a greater problem in the country, not just the exploitation of young people, the economic situation in the country, that Kenyans are so desperate now that they consider some of the parts of their bodies not useful, available for sale, so that they can eat. They can feed one organ, the stomach only, Honorable Speaker. It is a sad situation. And then in the papers in the morning, I read that there were top ministry officials in the Ministry of Health that doctored the report on this organ harvesting and trafficking business to remove what they call damning sections of that report. I think those are the people the committee should go for. Because if we are unable to provide a good living for our people such that they can be exploited like this, we at the very minimum should be able to catch the people who are exploiting them when it happens in the circumstances that have happened with the Medihill in Eldoret. So, Honorable Speaker, I think our committee should focus on those people. We want the original report, the unadulterated report, so that we know the culprits and we prescribe the best punishment for them. There should be arrests, as the senators who have spoken before me have said.
I finalize by addressing the Minister of Health. He is not going to intimidate anybody. The Minister of Health is on record bragging that although he is not a doctor, he knows more than a doctor. Duale, please. Please, you are a small boy. I saw you found me in this parliament.
Senator Halwada, please withdraw those words. Don't use unparliamentary language.
Okay, I withdraw the small boy part, but caution him again and again to stop playing with doctors. He should go and reflect what became of his classmates with whom they were in high school. How was he performing in class compared to his classmates who went to medical school? He owes them some degree of respect. Being appointed as a minister does not make you supernaturally clever. In fact, there are Kenyans who would be making this government performing better if they were the ones in those ministerial dockets.
So let me tell you, one thing that is happening here is that when this story was prepared, it was doctored. And that was the big question, that there were some ministry officials that doctored this report before it came out. Now, you would also listen to that story or grasp a point where they are saying that someone even, they facilitate for you to change ID so that you are not a Kenyan. You see? So it actually shows you that it's a big web, because then the guys from interior, someone must be from interior. Someone is from another department. Someone is from another department. So this is a coordinated corruption. And when the president needs to take time to listen to that video and such the raw footage about that expose, really, there is a problem. Now, what's more shocking is that this thing is authenticated by the highest office. People from the Ministry of Energy are largely named on attempts to doctor the scandal, to doctor the report. And now that is the Ministry of Energy, that is the Ministry of Health. Today, Parliament had much. Okia Umtata also is raising a question, because PLO Lumumba had sued government about a road construction that was to be done, and the government was supposed to do compensation The money was allocated and then bottlenecks created in the middle, and Nixon Korir is on the spotlight for not making that payment to the beneficiaries.
Note of Kakamega. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53, Clause 1, to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources on a matter of inter-county concern regarding the delay in compensating owners of land whose parcels were compulsorily acquired for the Ejinja-Bumala Road project in Busia and Kakamega counties. Mr. Speaker, sir, the National Land Commission, in its response to my request for information on the delay in compensating project-affected persons, brackets PAPs, in the Ejinja-Bumala Road project, cited lack of funds, lack of requisite documentation, and an unending succession processes as the reasons for the delay. In this regard, I request the committee to address the following. 1. The details of the 536 PAPs who have already been compensated so far, including the respective compensation amounts. 2. The failure by the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development to forward to the National Land Commission valuation reports, award letters, statements of acceptance, and other documentation in their custody, which are necessary to facilitate the conclusion of the evaluation of claims. 3. The reasons for the delay by the Kenya National Highways Authority, that's KENA, to fully remit to the National Land Commission compensation funds for the Ejinja-Bumala Road project, and the timelines for remittance of the outstanding balance. 4. The actions being taken by KENA as the acquiring entity and other government agencies to facilitate prompt conclusion of succession processes affecting the acquired land to pave way for compensation.
The issue by Senator Mtata about compensation is very serious. It is only today, when it has come into public domain, that Professor PLO Lumumba has sued Honorable Nixon Korir, PS Lands, because they have embezzled 184 families of money meant for compensation for areas where the standard gauge rail line passed through. Nixon Korir with some other senior officers at the Ministry of Lands. Parliament, we must wake up to these things. Lumumba should not be doing our work. We should by now have removed Nixon Korir from office to pave way for comprehensive investigations.
And that is what we are saying. The fact that there are no, huge, very alarming headlines on corruption does not mean there is none. And corruption is deeply rooted in government. In fact, I saw today the president was actually, the president returned the conflict of interest bill. There is a bill that was taken, that was done, I think, it could be in the Senate of the National Assembly, to allow government officers do business with government. It has been returned to the House. I still believe that bill ought not even to be there. No one should even have thought of that bill in the first place.
This morning, I have just referred back to Parliament the conflict of interest law or bill, because in my opinion, it doesn't meet the threshold of the expectations of the people of Kenya. As public servants, we cannot afford to carry the baggage of self-interest into public service. And we must take accountability with the seriousness it deserves. I expect both houses of parliament to exercise leadership in making sure that we get a piece of law that will help us manage and eliminate eventually matters corruption that in many cases come as a result of conflict of interest for public officials who serve not the public but their interest.
So, in this podcast, I want to explain what is causing the corruption surge in the country. The cases of corruption are a bit alarming. And there is an internal rot on critically what is happening. Number one, the fraud is actually okayed from the highest office. People are getting away with it. They're easily getting away with these cases because from the highest office. We sounded an alarm here some time back when the president went on public and complained that some lawyers or there are some judges were sabotaging government, and went public and even convened meeting with the head of judiciary demanding favorable judges to handle cases. That was a big blunder. The independence, the executive is taking over parliament, the judiciary. And through that, they're able to get away with it. Leave alone these ESCC guys who normally go to arrest police officers collecting 50 bob from. You know, I normally see, whenever I see those videos, I look at them as some drama clips. Because after arrest, where do they normally take them? No. The police are still taking bribes to date. At our OP, no police has been interdicted from the service because it was caught taking bribes. The other day, they arrested Kiambu governor. Of course, I later saw the speech by Wamatangi and I was like, we will really be mad to defend Wamatangi. Because Wamatangi needed to give us an explanation why he was having 12 million in his house. But I saw Medhu also asking. We've seen President attending Harambes and donating 20 million in cash. We've seen Osa Sudi carrying cash to events. Government people have been carrying cash, millions, to events. Okay? And even after that, there is no case. Number two, the watchdog is actually crippled. Yes, we gave financial autonomy to the police. How about ESCC? In fact, one of the toothless bodies in the fight against corruption is that ESCC. Very toothless. You cannot seem to, there was a transition there and you cannot seem to hear even an impact. In fact, Uhuru Kenyatta, as much as we blamed Uhuru Kenyatta, but do you know Uhuru Kenyatta arrested more governors? Yes. Arrested more governors and impeached, two were impeached during his era, based on just on corruption. Corruption web is very strong. It's a very strong web that you cannot really undermine. And I think government to government deals is killing everything. The workforce is feeling demoralized over insecurity of tenure. And there is a mod, it is our time to eat. Something is wrong, the fish is rotten at the head.